Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, I'll tell you, today we jumped up onto Riva Road, and I think it's 2661, which we were with Arundel Federal Savings Bank, which I'm thrilled because it has the word Arundel in it, which means that it is a local bank. And we were with Faye Currie, who is the branch manager here of this branch here in Annapolis, as well as Teresa Meley, who is the vice president of retail lending. Is that residential? Residential lending. Thank you guys so much for inviting me over here into the bank.
And, thank you.
I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't have a gift of like a bag of cash or something for me when I got here, but that's perfectly understandable. But I love local businesses and local banks, and you guys are pretty much the one of I don't want to say a dying breed because I hope you aren't, but there's something about dealing with a Bank of Arundel, as opposed to Bank of that other A word that, that goes out there. That's closed a branch down near me, which is fine. But you guys are a local bank, and when did Arundel Federal start? Is that?
Right now we're celebrating our 116th year. In fact, it's exciting that we're celebrating that it being established that long.
116?
116 years.
That's older than like you and me.
And probably put together, John, you and I.
Yeah,
I wish. But yes, Arundel Federal has been established that long. It began in Brooklyn, and now the headquarters in Glen Burnie.
Okay. Well, obviously you've got a little bit of growth over the years. And I know you've got five different branches. So, I mean, you really do sort of cover the whole county. You've got Annapolis, Brooklyn, the roots.
Mm-hmm. Brooklyn is still open. Yeah.
Pasadena and Severna Park.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Well, it's so rare to find a local bank. And I remember back when I was first married up in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, there was a local community bank. And I don't think you guys do it anymore because, I don't think people write checks anymore. But I could get a call at work from the bank saying, hey, was your wife out shopping in Skippack this weekend? And I'd be like, yeah, possibly. He said, well, we got a couple checks that are coming in and we're not quite sure they can make it, but we'll hold them. And again, that was like, I was like, oh my word, this is the community bank. This is somebody that cares about you. And I think that probably carries over here because I am a customer of Arundel Federal. I do.
Great.
I use it for my forced savings is what I do. I mean, I've got a daily driver that I do, but I slide money over into it. And that way it's like my Christmas club, if you will, to a degree.
Yes, we appreciate that.
And, and I do need to switch a little bit more, except actually switching business accounts is a hassle. Switching any account is a hassle. It tends to be.
No, we can make that very smooth for you. That's what I like about it.
We'll talk a little bit later on that. But as far as, do you guys offer the same thing as far as a banking than any other bank, right?
We have all the products that you may see of the larger commercial banks. The exciting part of Arundel Federal, it is one-on-one relationships. It's a relationship building. So we can provide you the checking, the savings, the CDs. I don't know if any other banks deal share loans, but Arundel Federal still does share loans. And that's a dying breed of allowing you to borrow your own money.
What's a share loan?
A share loan, let's say you have money in your savings account, as you indicated, or a certificate, and you decide that you want to purchase a car. So really, you're borrowing your own money. You never lose your nest egg because we set up a payment plan. We just pledge that money by putting a hold on it. It's still your money, still earning interest, but we do a share loan and you borrow your own loan.
Okay, so you're sort of collateralizing your own loan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And because we try to be profitable like any other business, there is a certain interest rate that would be over what you're making on the CD or the money market or whatever you put up for collateral.
Oh, sure.
But at the end of the day, when you're when you're done, that money's still there. Just like Faye said, your nest egg is still there.
Wow. I mean, so do you guys go head to head with what was the term? The big national banks, or I can't remember.
I call them the larger commercial banks.
Larger commercial banks.
We all have the same products and services, but I think singles us out differently than them, because I'll never criticize other banks. They all have a purpose and a need, is the fact that if you have a challenge, what most people do in the course of their banking, you can reach us. We're hands-on, we're there, and we'll navigate you through that issue.
So you're not really working with, I guess, algorithms or, okay, you've got this credit score or that credit score. And I mean,
that does come into play on the residential side. On the lending side, it does. But to kind of tag on to what Faye was saying about the relationship, one of the things that our lending customers love about Arundel is you can also pick up the phone and call and get someone in our servicing department. So when the loan is originated, most cases, we're going to keep it in our portfolio and we're going to service it as well. So that when your escrow analysis comes out and you have no idea why your escrow payment is going up $200 a month, you can call and talk to someone
and figure
about
out what
that.
it is. Well, it's also nice that you write the check to Arundel Federal Savings Bank every month, as opposed to it's, again, I'll pick on Harleysville Bank, but way back when, I mean, I'm coming out of college, Sears, of course, gave me the credit card with the, I think it was like a $3 million limit at $15 a month, whatever. I mean, everybody got one of those. And I proceeded to totally decimate my credit. And it was back in the very early 90s, and went to the bank and they were all like, yeah, no, we can't do this. And the realtors were all like, yeah, we can't do this. But our local Harleysville bank, Walter Dollar, who was the president, he said, look, your credit stinks. You know that. That's not a big thing. He says, and I'm not going to be able to sell this loan out to somebody else to service it. He says, if you move your money to me, I'll hold it in-house. And it was, and that was the difference between probably at that time, I don't even remember what it was, probably like a 7 and a 5% rate or something like that. Yeah. And which was considerable. I mean, I remember getting married and, when we looked at the final mortgage documents I'm going, look at that, honey. You always wanted to live in $1 million house.
If you keep it for 30 years,
yeah, but why are we only paying $115 for it?
Yes.
It's unfortunately that's the way it is. But and my father was in banking for all of his life. I mean, he was actually instrumental in developing like the ATMs. He worked with a check printing company and Diebold and a number of old names there. And
No,
like
Diebold's still around.
Are they
Yes.
still based here in Maryland?
I'm not certain as to where they're based. We just had a service call with them, so they're a long-established equipment person for the banking. So
yeah, I don't think they did. Well, I mean, way back then they didn't have all the equipment and the tech and stuff. I know they do voting machines, but it was like the drawers that went out and to do that. But I mean, I remember him always telling me that we were going to be a cashless society at one point. And unfortunately, he never lived long enough to see it. But I mean, we're getting close to it.
He was a visionary. That's right. We are getting close to it.
It's amazing. But I mean, you still need to have a place to bank.
True.
You're not going to see. I mean, we have ATMs that have come out in the last 30 years or 40 years, but you're not going to have walls of tellers.
Right.
Working for you in their branches, because you've got the technology. And I guess that's a good question. I mean, does Arundel Federal Savings Bank, do they cover all the technology that anybody else would? I mean, I know you've got the ATM cards and...
Yes, we have online banking services. We have debit cards. We have even a credit card application relationship with another bank. But I would honestly say that you can do your full online banking. You can come into a branch. You can do ATM banking at our locations. Each branch has an ATM.
I see you won't name names and you won't diss banks, but I will. But like PNC is turning around and they're closing all sorts of different branches, and they've been gobbled up from what they were originally way back when, as many banks are. But they're going into this almost tellerless society. I know CQ does it. I know like some rental car agencies now do it, where you go into a kiosk and you are talking to a person in a call center. I mean, there's a video, and I'm like, I don't like it.
Right. It's not the same, especially on the lending side. I mean, that's what we really credit ourselves with as well. As there are a lot of first-time home buyers. There are a lot of young people that have never made an application, never tried to purchase a home. And our loan officers are on the phone, and they do a certain amount of counseling and educating too, because you still need that, particularly in the lending side. So we really credit ourselves with that. You're not, why we can do everything online. So you can apply online, you can sign your disclosures online. Everything can be electronic up into the point of settlement. So we credit ourselves with that too, but it's the one-on-one and the conversation that we feel is still needed in the industry.
Well, I think it's incredibly valuable too, because I mean, as you're doing the counseling and the one-on-one and the guidance and everything else, you're hopefully building that relationship. I mean, the next Warren Buffett could be coming in looking for that, that little townhome.
Right.
That'd be very welcome, very welcomed. And just like in the account relationships, you can do them online as well with Arundel Federal. But we also have that one-on-one relationship that we can truly examine the customer's needs and help make a good recommendation so they can be fiscally responsible. There are all type of demographics out there. Some people that online banking relationship is the only thing they want, but there's still a lot of people who would like to have that one-on-one with an individual.
To your point, Faye, though, it's, seriously, you've got the branches, they pretty much stop as far as going south in the county in Annapolis. So, I mean, I don't want to say that South County is ignored, but as the technology evolves with the online and everything else, the location of the branch, because people are going to be using ATMs or they're going to be using a shop with their cards as this cashless society goes. But I mean, being able to get to a branch is becoming less needed per se. So you can still bank with a locally owned bank down in Deal. You can do it here. And on the times that you do need to come to see a branch, you just come right up Route 2 and you're right there here in Reba.
I would say with the recent pandemic, we were able to show that we can accommodate and meet needs. We didn't close our doors because customers still had a need. Yes, a lot of people, they teleremote their work. We could not teleremote. So customers still had needs, and the needs were more apparent during those times. So I think that told our story that we have those relationships and we're able to accommodate a customer. I'm very, very proud of that.
Absolutely.
During the pandemic.
And the personal touch again. I remember when I wanted to get the online banking set up, and there was something crazy with my password or something, and I know darn right well I screwed it up on the thing. First time I ever made a phone call to the number on the back of the card, it was, "Hello, Arundel Federal Savings Bank." I'm like, "One? Do I push a 1? Do I push a 2? What am I supposed to do here?" It blew my mind that there was, and it was like, not let me get you to that department. It wasn't like, oh, hold on, let me see if somebody can help you. It was like, what's your problem? And let me solve it for you.
And that is the philosophy of this bank. I would say that's a great story to tell about. Everyone here is here because they care about accommodating a customer. And that customer is valued at that moment. And we're going to do whatever we can do to meet their needs, share information with them, and to continue what Arundel Federal started 116 years ago and being a staple in the community. And definitely the residential lending, which is now in the Annapolis office, we're very happy that they're here. I just need to share that.
Well, well, I mean, the residential lending, what the heck is going on in the market today?
Oh, I know. And we all wish we had that, we could see in the future what's going to happen. So like we were talking before we started our chatting here, the rates last year at this time were 3% range for a 30-year fix. Now we're at over 7%. Now, when I say we, I mean industry-wide.
Sure.
The rates are over 7%. Feds are going to meet again either this week or next week, so there might be another jump on the short-term rates. But we'll just have to see what 2023 brings and what happens with the rates. What we do here at Arundel is, and maybe we touched on it earlier, but our depositors are our shareholders. We're not a stock corporation. It's sort of like if anybody watches It's a Wonderful Life, you've got the depositors making the money, which gets lended out. on the flip side, and that's what we do here. There was a period of time where we did sell our loans, but right now where everything is in portfolio, everything stays at the bank. So that being said, we're not trying to accommodate the pricing and the rates of Fannie and Freddie or an investor on the secondary market. We can set our own rates. And very often those rates, we look at those in conjunction to the depositors and what rates we're providing to the depositors. So our rates right now for 30-year fixed are well below the market. And that's kind of the gem of being a customer and working at Arundel, is we can set our own rates for the profitability of the bank, and we're not at the need and demand of an investor.
That's interesting. So are most of your lenders, or most of your borrowers, not you're the lender, most of the borrowers, are they local? I mean, I know if I go to, Bank of America or Wells Fargo or
they're
all over the
absolutely
place.
local, yes. So 64% of our pipeline right now is Anne Arundel County. But we also lend in all the other counties of Maryland, but only Maryland. So if you go to any bigger bank or brokerage or anything like that, more than likely they're nationwide lender or mid-Atlantic lender. But we focus on the state of Maryland, in particular Anne Arundel County.
So I couldn't get a loan through you guys for a place in Delaware?
No. Not at this time.
Really?
Ocean City, Maryland, but not.
Yeah. Just don't go across the line.
Well, not Bethany. Just beach is a beach.
Is that a legal thing?
It's just the direction of the bank. So it's not really anything that was determined in the charter per se, but it's just the direction of the board of directors and upper management of the bank to stay within the state of Maryland.
And I'm assuming your board of directors is all local.
Yes. We just had a director that retired, and I believe he had sat on the board for well over 40 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that kind of stability says a lot about the bank.
40 years. Wow.
And they're all community leaders, and that's important to the bank, to be participants in the community and to meet the community's needs.
That used to be a big thing. Oh, he's on the bank board. I mean, you've been thinking, and it's nice to hear that. And what's your employee like? Do you have employees that are here a long time, or?
Right. In residential lending, we have, I believe, 48 years is the tops, and that's an individual in residential lending. So that employee has been with the bank for 48 years. We have another 42 years. But then we also have new hires as well. Some of our employees have come from larger banks that they were just disillusioned with the size of the bank, the fact that they didn't know their customers, their employer didn't know them. They were kind of a number, where that's not the case here. So in residential lending, we have 13 staff members, and we all work together. We're all on the same floor together. Some of our LOs, loan officers, originators, are outside of the Annapolis branch, but we all know each other and we know our customers.
48 years. That's like a third of the life of the institution.
Yes. Yeah.
That's wow.
Phenomenal.
And the branch, I'm assuming, has maybe not 48 years, but I mean,
we can't compete with that. We're pretty close. We got, I know, 2 individuals that are 29 years in retail branch banking, and many that have started out here from right out of high school and continued on to be upper management. So we're very proud of the fact that it's a good fit for a lot of individuals, and a new fit, as you share new employees, they find success with being a part of the bank because they still have that particular work ethic that they want to be a part of something in the community. Because Arundel Federal has done and is doing, like right now, we're doing a food drive.
Right.
We have an upcoming toy drive. We just recently had a Shred Fest in Annapolis where we got to meet and greet each customer one-on-one as they came in the vehicles to drop off 2 boxes or 3 boxes of shred. And so it's very committed, Arundel Federal, to the community. And that is why we get up every day, I would say, Teresa, to be a part of this, because it's very important that you have value added in what you do, and that's how you're successful, I think. And Arundel Federal wants each and every employee to be successful here and to share the vision and contribute to the community as well.
So you could start out right out of high school and get the training, I guess, in a branch, and
a lot of upper management is that. Upper management did that.
I've been in banking for well over 35 years. And I started as a summer job. I started as a teller, as a summer job while I was going through college. And then all of a sudden, it became my career. I loved it. So I learned from the teller. Yeah. The teller up to the status that I'm at now, which I'm proud of. And a lot of people here, our current president has been with the bank 37 years. And so a lot of people have kind of worked their ways up the ranks.
Way off topic, but have you guys ever been involved like in a bank robbery?
I'm going to say yes.
Oh, my
word.
I've
got it in my distant memory.
Yeah.
But the neat part about it, we saw the individual run out with the die pack, and we saw the die pack to go off. So it was like, yay, we cheered. So regretfully, that was not this bank, but it was another bank years and years ago. I have about 30 plus years in retail banking, started as a bank secretary, and then worked up the teller.
Wow.
Oh, my
Good
gosh.
for you.
And loved it. It's an opportunity for people. If you apply yourself, you can thrive. That's what I liked about being in banking and retail banking.
Right. Well, like a couple of weeks ago, we talked with Peter Holland, who's an attorney in town, specializes a lot in identity theft and the whole new world when it comes to fraudulent activity, which is I imagine is probably a big challenge for any financial institution to keep up on that, and obviously it's a big risk there as well. I mean, in the lending arena, I guess on the residential, I mean, I'm assuming you've got them all, the 30-year, the 15-year, the ARMs, the conventional home equities,
all of that. Yep. We do have what we call a niche product, so we try to have one-off products that are just a little bit more beneficial than what you would find on the secondary market. So what I mean by that is you may have a conforming loan limit that's universally $647,000. But what we do is we bump ours a little bit. So currently we're at $701,000, which means you would get a conforming rate, which is lower than any other loan that would be over 647 would be considered a jumbo rate. So you would have a higher rate. Where we're in that little niche where you could get a higher loan amount, but it would still be a conforming rate.
Okay. And then how makes that decision? Is that you're within?
It usually starts with an idea.
Okay.
And then we meet as a loan committee. There's a loan committee. It's usually myself, president, and the CFO of the bank. So with the wonders of technology, we'll jump on a Teams meeting. Do you think this is a great idea? This gives us a little edge over our competition. We do the same when we determine rates. It's a group of us who does that. We look to see what our peers are lending at, and we just universally make a decision and then put it into motion.
When you say a loan committee, I mean, is there the group of folks, is that every loan go before a loan committee? Or
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes. Every loan goes.
So it's like Shark Tank.
That's right.
Except for they don't do the
Maybe I should bring the bag of cash.
Sure, there's a full underwrite of the loan, full processing, underwriting. Our underwriter will draw up a proposal, whether to approve or deny the loan, and that's submitted to the loan committee to make that decision. If the loan meets our policy and guidelines, most likely it'll be an approval, and then we get a commitment letter out to the borrower same day.
And I've got to imagine that in that instance, you've got, again, it could be an established or the start of a relationship that somebody's pitching for the client.
Sure. Yeah. And we value our realtor relationships. We have a loan originator who serves on the board at Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors. He actually serves on 3 different committees with the group. So we like to be visible to our realtors and gain those realtor relationships. With realtors, what we like to provide is it's called a pre-qualification letter. So if someone comes in and they're interested in purchasing a home, whatever realtor that they're working with is going to say, I want a pre-qualification letter.
Sure.
A realtor doesn't want to waste time with someone who wants a $500,000 house, but can only afford a $150,000 house. So we provide that letter. Very quick turnaround time. Could be same day, where we'll do an analysis of income and credit and give a pre-qualification letter so that potential prospective borrower has that letter in hand when they meet with their realtor, and then they know what homes that they should be viewing and possibly putting a contract on.
As far as buying a home, though, would you, for a homeowner, for somebody that's a future homeowner or somebody that is a homeowner looking to buy a second one, I mean, does it make more sense to come to you first and ask for a pre-qual?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And like I said, typically if they have a realtor of choice, that realtor will say, you need to get a pre-qualification letter before we can go out and start looking at houses.
Is there an advantage to coming to you as opposed to, I mean, I know the realtors, they've got all their relationships. I mean, they've got the mortgage lenders and everything else, which, you know, and obviously you're probably included in their quiver of arrows. But I mean, is there a benefit to the customer coming to the source first as opposed to having, I mean, I've got to think the realtor probably gets something out of the referral.
A benefit, I think, is that they've probably done their research and seen that we are a local bank and that we can turn around and give them that pre-qual letter quickly. Once they see our rates, if it's someone who's savvy and looking out at rates at local banks, then to me, it's kind of a no-brainer right now because our rates are phenomenal. But once they have that letter in hand, that's what they need. We will very often call the realtor just to validate the information on that letter so that they know that we've done our due diligence and this is who you have to work with and they're more than qualified.
Sounds like you make it really easy to do business with y'all.
We hope so. That's what we strive for.
I mean, you know, again, you've got you've got the branches, you know, scattered across the county that you can get into if you need to talk with somebody. You can pick up a phone and talk with a human. You can buy a house through, you know, the mortgage office.
It's worked both ways. Mm-hmm. It's once they've started with a mortgage relationship, then in turn they have a retail relationship. Then they already have a retail from when they started when they were younger. They get to the place, they come to us for the mortgage relationship. So it works both ways. So I think it's exciting to see. I had a young individual last week, said he was 16 when he started banking in Brooklyn. And in turn now he owns a home in Mount Airy and he was making a payment. So it's a full circle, that's generation awesome. To generation, mm-hmm. building of relationships, which I think is one of the pillars of Arundel Federal's success.
That's neat. Do you do any of the, and it's not yours, Teresa, I know you're the residential, but I mean, like if I was looking to buy a boat, you know, do you guys do loans?
We do.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yes.
are personal loans a thing of the past?
Yes, we have. Yeah, that's part of lending is the consumer piece as well. We provide personal loans, as Faye had said, the share loans, boat loans, auto loans. Sometimes it's difficult to compete with the dealership. You know, when you found your perfect car and you're sitting at the dealership, the finance manager is going to come out and you're going to get the best rate.
Is that like not the worst experience in the world? I mean, I'm sorry. I'd rather go to the dentist and have a couple teeth pulled with some rusty pliers.
But just myself included, I purchased an automobile. I didn't like the interest rate, but I wanted to get the automobile. But then I turned around and refinanced it. So a lot of times, if you're not under pressure and you have the time to look at interest rates, we'll have people that come back to us for a refi.
Do it and flip it.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I know that they have also said that cars are probably some of the safest loans anybody can make because it's usually, I mean, nobody wants to have it repossessed. It's real easy to repossess it. It's a little bit more difficult to repossess a home. And so that's usually one of the ones that they never let get too far out if they need a car.
Right.
I've always heard that it's, you know, the threat of that, you know, I mean, if my car's not paid for right there, I mean, there could be a tow truck hooking up to it right now and it'd be like, you know, and I'm like, wow, okay. And it's, you know, and I know they're so ruthless in the car dealerships with, you know, as I said, it's the worst experience in the world.
Yeah. The only thing I always think about auto loans, and believe me, we do not have a high default rate here at Arundel Federal, is that they do move where the collateral of a home stays put. But, you know, the automobile could be a little bit more difficult.
True. It's mobile.
That's right. Moves around.
Well, I'll tell you, what have we missed? What else don't we know about Arundel Federal Savings?
I could expand on the community commitment that every individual here feels a part of something bigger than them because they're involved in the community. Teresa, I'm sure you're on some boards. I'm on some boards right currently.
Faye and I were on the Annapolis High School.
Annapolis High School. We're still together. Annapolis High School is an integrated community stakeholder team member. and I've been on that since 2014. I'm a former board member of St. Mary's and alumni board member of St. Mary's High School, which I'm very, very proud of as well. I'm currently on the Anne Arundel County Community Action Agency as a board member, representing the public sector, and the bank is noted for us being a part of that. And the Links, a group of professional women who support the community, do scholarships. So that's a part of the bank's commitment that you be active in the community you live in.
Is that a requirement for employees that, or an encouragement, I guess?
I would say encouragement.
Yes.
It's a very much an encouragement.
Right.
And that's what we love to see around here.
It brings it all back into being a community bank. I mean, you can't be a community bank if you're not part of the community.
Right. And we do have community reinvestment action plans. One of them being that I'm very excited about is Homes for America, which there's a development in Annapolis. It's called Homes for the Glen. And Arundel Federal Savings Bank is the lead lender for that program. So what Homes for America does is they provide residential units for rent and lease. But after a certain period of time, if that leasee would like to become a homeowner, and they fit the qualifications to the program, then Arundel Federal steps in as the first lien holder, and Homes of America provides grants for that new homeowner that are completely forgivable after 5 years if they stay in the home within a 5 year period.
I know somebody that did that program down on, I'm trying to remember the name of the road, but it's the road that goes back into like Woodside Gardens.
That's exactly where it is.
Those two there, and I mean,
Juliana Circle.
Yes,
Juliana Circle.
And they said it was, the most amazing thing. And I mean, Homes for America is based here in Annapolis, and Trudy McFall, I think, started that. But it's the ability to take somebody out of a bad situation, public housing, and get them in there. And I know the woman that was in there, I mean, she takes ownership of it. I mean, she's like, she sees some kids down on the corner playing cards. She's like, okay, you've got exactly 3 minutes to get home and explain to your mom why you're home, or you're going to be explaining to the cops because I'm, which I think is amazing when you have, the sense of ownership and the ability. And one of the issues, I mean, social issues we have here in Annapolis is the public housing, that we need to be able to figure a way to get the folks that are in this. I've always been a big believer that it's a step up, a step up, not a landing zone. And
right. And our roots being in Brooklyn, Maryland, we're also instrumental in a program called Action Baybrook. So it's a nonprofit group that is taking housing units that typically were, let's say, just boarded up and need of repair, and we're lending the money for the renovation of that property to then be sold, not rented. So we're trying to help a nonprofit group to bring home ownership back into the 21225 zip code. So we're very proud about that program as well. And that's something that you can see. I encourage any employee to go who lives in that area just to go by the home to see the construction, the renovation, how when you had this home that was boarded up and now you've got a home with windows that's progressing, and eventually a family will be in there. It's very encouraging. It's hands-on. You can see it and you can see the progression. So it's exciting.
And we provided financial literacy to disadvantage, as we did also with Annapolis High School. We've been a part of a lot of I would say workshops or sessions that provide financial literacy to the basics so they can be successful in their finances, so they don't have a credit issue like some individuals like do me. Start out. No.
Like me. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
And a lot of people have made that mistake, but our pride is in helping them to navigate through proper budgeting, and so they can be fiscally responsible adults. That's why I start with students.
I wish the schools would teach that. And I mean, I'm glad to hear that you do that, because, I try to teach my kids as much as I can. What did I forget? It's like, can you talk about that? Okay, so when you go to balance your checkbook and everybody sort of looks at you like deers in the headlight.
Who does that right?
What? Yeah, your check register. Huh? It's like, what is this we're talking about?
We have an app. Arundel Federal is an app, and they keep track of their balances, and we're proud of providing all the up-to-date resources, as you indicated earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice you get a notification that if you're getting below a certain level and everything else. But I think that a lot of the basic life skills. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say this, but one time my kids were like writing thank you notes for Christmas presents or something like that, and they were on their own at this point. They were like in college or something, so they weren't totally on their own. So I get a phone call. Dad, stamp goes on the upper right corner. And I'm like, how do my kid not know? Because we live in a world of email. We're all touchless, and we got to tap away and figure out. I'm like, oh my gosh, he doesn't know where the stamp goes.
Yeah. I'm always impressed when we work with realtors who, at the time of settlement, give their new homeowners a maintenance list, a home maintenance list. Because if you've never owned a home before, you don't know when you should change a filter. A lot of young people do not know homeowners insurance, property taxes. What is this escrow? What are you doing? So it's the maintenance and just all the different nuances of having something new. Yes.
Home warranties are.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed to see the maintenance because I think that's a great tool. It's so important.
There's a home inspector out in Arnold whose business probably over the last 2 or 3 years went right through the floor because everyone was buying homes and waiving home inspections. And it's like, oh, yeah, I love it. I'll take it and I'll pay 3 times, the asking price. And I promise to send you Christmas presents every year. And what he did is he turned around and he started to develop a curriculum to teach home buyers when you go in, look here, go into the basement, see if you can poke your head into the attic. Just the basic structural stuff. Because, the worst thing in the world you want to do is get into a house and all of a sudden you hear, what's that creaking noise? And all of a sudden, boom, there goes the garage or something. Because you waive that. And, he's, okay, fine, you've got a little bit of water here. That might be a sump pump. That's probably a repair, but it's nothing big. But if you see this type of cracking, this may be substantial. And I thought, brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
And that makes sense. All the checklist and the maintenance. That's, I learned the hard way at the importance of changing the filters. You mentioned that. I got a little bit lax on it, and that last filter cost me about $4,800. And it was,
Well, banking has changed, lending has changed, and Arundel Federal has navigated through those processes. And we're here to meet and accommodate. And we're very proud of that.
Well, you do have your tentacles and your fingers in a number of different pots in the community, which is so refreshing to hear. We're living in the days of touchless transactions, and that you can do that here. But you can also get some pretty high touch, whether it be Teresa arguing on your behalf for a mortgage or, Faye pulling the box out of the parking lot out of the back of your car to throw it into a shredder at the parking at the local shredded or whatever. But this is really refreshing to see that, again, we still have community-based banks run by locals that are working it, managed by locals, corporately handled. That you said 60 some odd % of your loans are in Anne Arundel County.
Correct.
All in Maryland.
Right.
You can't ask for anything better than that, I guess. ArundelFederal.com is the website?
Yes, it is.
And that's the gateway for online to get pretty much everywhere?
Yes, all of our mortgage products are listed there. Any kind of specials that we may have are listed there, and rates as well, plus a lot of contact information. So from our website, you could directly start an application, pick a loan originator, and get your mortgage application started.
And on our website, you can also view all the products that Arundel Federal has, just like the other commercial banks, and in turn start that process, find the individual bios of each of the managers, and find something's close to you, or open an online banking relationship as well. It's a very diverse website.
Here's a question for you, and maybe off the wall. Do you guys have notaries in your bank, in your branches?
Every single branch has notaries, at least 2.
Okay. And are they free for customers?
They are free for customers.
Okay. I get asked that question a lot of times. And people will say, hey, anyone know where notary is? And I'm like,
yes.
It's always so.
Yes.
ArundelFederal.com is where you want to go. But I want to thank you, Teresa Meley and Faye Currie. Thank you so much for your time today and for what you're doing for the community. I mean, it's not necessarily what you're doing for the bank, but it's the community.
Thank you, John. That means so much.
You.
And I guess because all those pesky compliance people say we have to say, I guess, that Arundel Federal Savings Bank is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Thank
Someone
you.
who works hard in the...
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your